Okay, so here's the deal with changing hoods. It's really not that hard. You got 4 bolts on either side, come off pretty easily. The hardest part is the water jets. So you don't have to take these actual off. You just have to disconnect this connector on each side and then take off that little sleeve right there, and then this pops out. So then you're just left with the connector and the hose feed on each side. All this then comes off, and you take the hood off with the water. So there's also a couple fitment issues. If the hood comes down and it's too low, that's actually what these things are for. You can screw them down or up, and that lifts or lowers the hood, so it's a nice flat line. And I did have to do that on both cars, actually. I had to adjust the height of these so that it was flush. The other fitment thing you can do is if it's too far away, there is some play in these bolts, so you can move the hood back or forward, as well as, kind of straighten it left or right. So those are really the different ways you can adjust fitment, and these both really fit on pretty nicely. I mean, I did have to adjust some of the fitment, mainly more so on the RT with the Hellcat hood. So it definitely helps to have 2 people to do this, but I was able to do it myself. And the way I did it was that I have an adjustable pole here that I just propped up to hold the front of the hood up while I messed with the bolts. I also put towels down on either end here so that this wouldn't come down and scrape the windshield. But these are really not that heavy, and there's plenty of grip places on there to lift them up and move them around. I think this is a fiberglass hood, and it still feels like it's a couple pounds heavier than the Hellcat hood. It's definitely heavier than the stock RT hood, which I have sitting up there in the back. Now, the other thing to consider, and one of the reasons why I did this, is that one thing that I really don't like about the stock Hellcat hood is that these vents just drop right down into the engine bay. There's no reservoir or anything to direct water. When you go to shut this, especially if you have an open top air intake, look what happens. That thing drops right down on the air filter. On this side, it drops right down on the electrical box, which is covered. But so yeah, that's really a poor design in my opinion. So now what's different about that with the Trufiber hood is that there is actually a water reservoir in the vents. There's a little lip on the edge to stop water from coming in. Alright, all 3 vents feed into that water reservoir, and then this reservoir drains right down into the front and drains out through this hole right there. So it drains right out into the front of the hood. Really don't like open water getting into the engine bay, and you can tell that this guy, the previous owner, kept this outside because look at all the rust on the pulleys there, or on the sprockets there. I mean, it definitely wasn't garage kept, and because of those holes in the hood, had all kinds of water getting in here constantly, whenever it rained. Unless you're keeping it in a garage, then water's just going to get right down in there. There were water stains on this leg maker cover. You can still kind of see the outline right here, because that would sit right below the vent. I've tried scrubbing that out as best I can, but there's still a slight discoloration. Same thing over here on these. These were really discolored. I had to really scrub those out. So what I had to do on the RT, because that vent drains right into the Mopar Stage 1 air intake, is that I had created piece of plastic just for show purposes to go inside this. Okay, so now I've got the top protected. This is angled, so at least the water is going to drain down and run out through the bottom. See what this looks like. You know, with a stock air box that already has a top on it, that really wouldn't be an issue. But if you have an open air intake, like the Mopar Stage 1 air intake, then you're going to have an issue if you get a Hellcat hood. So you're going to have to protect that, or else revert back to a covered air intake of some sort. Well, yeah, the fitment is pretty good on these. It's nice and flat along the edge here now. Pretty even along the sides. Same with this one. It's nice and flat along the edge and up along the sides. So all in all, I was pretty happy with how easy these things swapped around. I'm going to keep the Hellcat hood on the RT until the point that we make a decision of whether we're going to sell it or not. And then if we do, I'm going to put the stock RT hood back on. But it really looks pretty cool with all the blackout on there. So, alright guys, thanks for watching.